We are in a series, and you can see it. It's called Team. And throughout this series, we've been talking about, last week was about being on Team Jesus, going public for Jesus. We celebrated baptisms in here. It was awesome. The week before that, we talked about being on Team Small Group. And let me just remind you that today is the last day if you want to join a small group. So after the service today, people will be over there. Go sign up for your small groups. And just to let you know what we have again, if you weren't here the last couple weeks, we have one in Sour Lake. It's going to be exciting. That's in Frankie and Rock Roy will be leading that. We'll have one in Lumberton near the Coons Inn. We're at Dan and Lala's house in that area. Miss Cindy will be helping with that. We have another one in Lumberton off the Keith Road area, if you know where that's at, with Barry and Don Ryman's house. And then we have one in Beaumont near the Tinseltown area off Major, where Matt and Teresa Strasser will be leading that one. And then we have two at the church. We have one for young adults, that 18 to 35 age. We definitely want you to be a part of that. And we actually added another one at the church, and it's going to be myself and my wife and Jessica and Wesley Lampion. We're going to be kind of working as a team, and we're going to do one at the church. So maybe there's people that you live near the church. You live near Beaumont. It's maybe an easier drive instead of driving all the way to the end of Lumberton. And so we want to make sure we have something here for you as well. And those groups are going to be exciting. Like I said, they will start this Wednesday at 6:30. So wherever you go, find your location, and we'd love for you to be part of that. But let's get to today. I'm done. Let's get to today. I kind of landed in Luke 15 this week, and I love the story in Luke 15. And this is where Jesus tells a very famous parable to some religious leaders. And he was telling the parable of the lost sheep. And if you maybe grew up in church, I'm sure you heard this. If you haven't, we're going to read it anyway. But the religious folks, they were upset with Jesus. They were mad about who he was hanging out with, like all in somebody else's business. You ever met somebody like that? But that's what they were. And they were all in this business about who he was hanging out with. He was hanging out with outcasts. He was hanging out with sinners and all these people who weren't living the way they thought they should be living. And they were doing all this. And so Jesus shares this story with them. And this is in Luke 15, 1 through 7. It goes like this. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners, I love that word notorious, often came to listen to Jesus teach. This made the Pharisees and the teachers of the religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. So Jesus told them this story. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others into the wilderness and go search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and his neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, because I have found my lost sheep." In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. I love this story. There's so much power in this story. And I have a picture. It's been going through the internet for a while. I just love that picture. I'm sure you've seen over the last couple of years of Jesus or a shepherd running after the lost sheep right there. In this parable and in this picture right here, Jesus is what he's doing. He's painting a very vivid painting right here, a picture of compassion, a picture of a shepherd going after his lost sheep. It's a shepherd that he's overseeing 100 sheep. Just imagine the story. He's overseeing all these sheep, and he's going out there, and he's counting them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he gets there, and he probably knows them by name, by the way. He probably named them, like, Josh is a good name, and Rick sounds like a good name, and Tandy sounds like a good, I'm just making up stuff, sorry. But then there was one, I can see you, so I'm just going to call you out today. Just be ready. All right, and so he sees, but one is missing. I got to go find this one. And so he goes out into the countryside to go find this one lost sheep. And furthermore, when you think about this story, the parable of lost sheep, I think it emphasizes the responsibility of the Christian community, the church, on how we should really care for one another. We are called to support and to seek out those who maybe have strayed, and to extend the same love and the same grace that God extends to us. We're supposed to do that for others. This parable, it reminds us of the importance of fostering, I think, a compassionate church family that rejoices when one lost soul finds their way back to God's embrace. Just like we did last week. We were celebrating people coming on Team Jesus. Because here's the deal. In this room, there are probably people here and people who are watching online who probably feel lost. If you're being honest, you feel lost. And it could be many reasons. For some, it could be lost because you've just never said yes to Jesus. You've never declared with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and that he overcame death for you. Maybe that's you. That's just weird. You know about him, but you don't know him. Or maybe you're lost because things have just happened and you just kind of turned away from God and you've kind of turned away from church. Or maybe you're lost because of the season that you just happen to be in right now. Things maybe aren't going the way you want them to go. That's just kind of where you are. And maybe that's due to your fault. Maybe it's because of the choices maybe that you're making. Or maybe it is because of someone else. Things that are happening in your life. And right now, you just feel like, you know what? I'm just in a tough season in my walk with Jesus. That's kind of where I'm at. Things are just not in my control right now, and I'm frustrated. Let me ask you this, though. We're going to get some interaction here, all right? How many here have ever been lost as a kid? Like you got separated from mom or dad. Anybody here ever get lost? Look at all y'all. Parents don't love y'all. I'm just kidding. All right, you've been there, right? All right. Now, I don't know where you got lost at. That's a lot of you. I don't know where you got lost at. Maybe it's at Walmart, the mall, the State Fair. It was Disney World. Back in the day, you used to have Astroworld. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Somebody probably got lost there for sure, right? You had that. But when that happened, honestly, if you were a kid, now some of you going to lie, but who was scared? Raise your hand if you were actually scared when you got lost. Okay, good. Okay, no one's lying in church. That's good. All right, you were scared. You were probably confused. You needed direction. You needed help. You needed someone to show you a compassion in that moment. You needed a friend. You need somebody that you could trust in that moment to help you find your parents. You needed someone there to be there for you. And see, that's what Jesus does for us. That's what he does for us. But also, I believe it's what he expects us as believers to do for other people, for the lost, and for the hurting, and for the scared, and for the confused. We are called to be there for them, church. I have on this shirt today that probably only 3 folks know about, okay? And that's okay. If you don't know, it's all right. But it's a wrestling shirt, if you don't know. I'm just going to break you in. Any wrestling fans out here? Okay, more than I thought. That's cool. All right. They're all under 18. It's okay. It's all right. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Let's see. But here's the shirt. We the ones. All right? We the ones. Now, if you don't know, this is made for a wrestling group known as the Bloodline. All right? It's the Bloodline, and it used to be led by a guy named Roman Reigns, who represented a very prominent Samoan dynasty family. And so and they would wear these shirts, and they would call themselves the ones. And what they're saying is, I'm the best in the world. In this wrestling business, I'm the best. And so they would come out to the ring, and then Roman Reigns, he would do this. He'd go, just like this. Everybody do this. Just do it. Raise your hand. Acknowledge me. I'm just kidding. Yes, I got you. No, but what he's saying is he would hold his finger up like this, and then the Bloodline would hold their finger up, and then he would say, acknowledge me, that I'm the best in the world. So y'all just acknowledge that I'm the best in the world. Thank you so much for making me feel good about myself. Right? No, just kidding. But as I thought about this shirt, we the ones. And I thought about this parable of the lost sheep. I thought of another saying. Maybe instead of saying we the ones, we could ask this question, who's my one? Look at that slide. Put that up. Who's my one? Because here's the deal. We the ones because we can help the lost ones. We the ones because we can help the lost ones. I thought of that as I was driving to church actually today. And here's what happened on my way to church. I was like, I need a takeaway. I think, it came up to my mind right here, Holy Spirit, whatever, God, whoever, or just me. I don't know. But we the ones because we need to help other ones. That's what we're called to do. And so I was driving, and I go the other way. I take the exit and take Lucas and come or over there and turn by wherever that is, that barbecue place. And I'm on that road by Rave Bank, right? You know where I'm at? Everybody with me? Because that light of doom. Okay, yeah, so I'm on that treadway. Thank you, sir. And so I'm on treadway, and I'm coming around the corner, and there's a car in the ditch this morning. Lights are on, airbags were off on the side, and I couldn't tell if there was a person in there. And I'm driving by, and I'm thinking, we the ones, because we need to help the lost ones. You know what I did? I kept on going. And then I'm driving, and I'm saying, you're going to tell people to help people. And you don't know if there's anybody in that car, and you just drove right by them. And so I was like, no, I need to turn around. And so I turned around, and I came back to this car. I didn't know if anybody was in the car or not. And I get out of the car, and there is a young lady in the car. And so I go up to the car, and her airbag's on the side, and so I move her airbag. I didn't tell you this morning, so sorry, honey. But I move the airbag, and I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm okay. And she's probably like 24, 25. I said, are you sure? I said, I need to call 911. Do I need to do anything? She says, no, I've already called. They're about to come help me. My family's coming. They're about to come tow my car out of the ditch. And I was like, whew, took a breath. And I make sure she was okay. Like, I didn't see blood or anything like that, so she was fine, I guess. And then I was able to leave after that moment. I just thought about that thing. We the ones, because we can help the ones. There's always opportunities to help somebody if we're willing to say yes. Whatever it is, there's always opportunities. So who's the one person? I want you to think about this all day today. Who's the one person that maybe you can help? Who's that one person who could use your wisdom and use your encouragement? Who's that one person you can make an impact on? Who's that one lost sheep who needs a shepherd that's maybe in your life? In the church world, we can come up with, we can use this word, and in the real life world, we use this word. It's called mentors. It's called mentors. For our team series, what I want to say is, let's call them a coach. Who needs a coach? And so the question is, what is a mentor? What does it mean to be on team mentor? And I was just thinking, a mentor is someone who's just been there, done that. They've just been through some things. They have some experience in their life. They have wisdom, and they have knowledge. And here's the deal about a mentor. They actually want to pass it on to somebody else. That's what a mentor is. Like Christian, godly, they want to pass that on to somebody else. It's men mentoring men and women mentoring women. Don't get that confused. It is men mentoring men and women mentoring women. It's someone who follows Jesus and they want to help somebody else follow Jesus in a better way, in a one-on-one situation. In wrestling terms, they're becoming a tag team. They're kind of working together. They're a tag team. And so who is the one person that maybe you can mentor, I'm talking to you, that you can coach, that you can help? Pastor Rick Warren, he said this, he defined a mentor as someone who is willing to listen, encourage, and pray. It is someone who is willing to listen, encourage, and pray. And I believe we can all do that, church. We can all do that. And hear me on this. There is no one-size-fit-all when it comes to mentoring, right? It looks different from everybody. For some, it's just meeting at the house. For some, it's going out for lunch. For some, it's going to get a cup of coffee, and then we're just doing life together. And this could be once a month. It could be once a week. It could be twice a month. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just what works for you guys. At the end of the day, it's really what works for you. It's what works for your schedule. It's what works for your time. I've heard it said like this, though. We have time for what we make time for. I think that's good. We have time for what we make time for. If Jesus thought this was important, then I think we as a church, we should make this important as well. I believe there are people here who need us, who need you. I believe that in this church. They are looking for somebody to coach them. They are tired of being lost. They are tired of wandering in the wrong direction. They want help with their friendships. They want help with their relationships. They want help with their marriage. They want people to help them in their walk with Jesus. And you could be the one if you're willing to. If you're willing to. Listen, all these talented, high-paid NFL football players, you know what? They still need a coach, don't they? At the end of the day, they still need a coach. They still need somebody to lead them in the right direction. And this principle of coaching and mentorship is nothing new. This has been going around since Bible times. Think about it. Joshua was mentored by Moses, when you look at the story. Elijah was coached by Elijah. Solomon was mentored and coached by David. And David was mentored by a guy named Samuel. And then if you go New Testament, Paul mentored a lot of people. But Paul mentored Timothy. And Timothy, he wanted Timothy to mentor other people. And here's what Paul said in 2 Timothy 2:2. He said, you have heard me teach. And then he goes on to tell him, now teach these truths to other trustworthy people who will be able to pass them on to others. So Paul mentored Timothy. And here's what I love about it. He expects Timothy to go mentor somebody else. And the people that Timothy mentored, he expects them to go mentor somebody else as well. Some faithful people. And I believe it works the same today. God expects us as faithful men and faithful women to do the same, because that's how you grow in discipleship. That's how it works. In fact, I was thinking about this. You're benefiting right now from the spiritual coaches that were in my life over the years, who mentored me in my lifetime, who helped me grow in areas in my own life. And I started thinking about all these people over the years. From a young age, there was a pastor here named Johnny Creason. And I've shared this before, but when I was 16 or 17, he helped me, and he saw something in me, and he took me under his wing, and he spent time with me, and he helped me grow in my relationship with Jesus, and he helped me preach my very first sermon at a 17-year-old teenager. And it was horrible, but we won't judge him on that. We won't judge him. But it was learning, though, that he even gave me that opportunity was crazy. I thought about when I went off to Bible college, I had all these professors that were in my life, and one in particular was named Dr. Cliff Sanders. And during my college times, I know this is hard to believe, but I got in trouble a lot. And people didn't, certain leaders didn't like that. I stood up for myself. I stood up for my friends. Sometimes I took it too far. I'm not going to lie. I probably did things and said things I shouldn't have said. All right? And I got lots of fines over the years, lots of write-ups and lots of trips to the dean's offices and all this thing. But in all that, Dr. Cliff Sanders always saw something in me, and he always had my back, no matter what was happening. He always had my back. When I was a teacher, I had a principal named Philip Brooks, and he played a huge role in mentoring me. When I was a teacher, I was a teacher for 14 years, and we had a plan, and the plan was I was going to become his assistant principal, and then I was going to become a principal. Now, that plan didn't work out. God put me in a different direction, and I'm doing this, and I love this, so it's okay. It worked out great. But I remember this man, and he was a man who loved God. He was actually a worship leader right over here at this Baptist church, right around the corner. And he played a huge role in my life, a godly influence in my life, and he helped me, I believe, become a better leader. He showed me what a great leader looked like, because before that, I saw a lot of principles, I don't know about that, right? And a lot of things happened to me over the years that I didn't agree with. But this man, he loved the Lord, and he showed me that. And you can love people, and it was amazing. I learned so much from him. And then there was the pastor before me at this church. His name was Pastor Gary Hammonds. And, a lot of pastors don't let people come up here and preach. I don't know if you noticed that. At least back in the day, like this place was, this is sacred. They would have these giant pulpits that were big as the stage. I remember those back in the day? And like no one could come up there but the pastor, like only that person, right? But I remember Pastor Gary, he would give me opportunity after opportunity to improve my craft of preaching. He gave me chance after chance. He's the one who urged me to get ordained, and he believed in me, and that made a big difference in my life. And now that's helped me as I become a pastor, that it's not about me. You know what I'm saying? If we have other people who maybe have this calling and a passion, I want to help them, and I want to mentor them. And I feel like we're in a place right now to be able to do that, and helping like AJ, our youth pastor, and giving him opportunities to preach. And I'm excited about that because, by the way, next week, me and him are going to do a tag team sermon on Team Next Generation, on how we need to be on the same team for the next generation. So I'm excited about that next week. And we have some other people that will be coming along. But there are multiple people that right now I'm personally trying to invest in and mentor and coach. And I'm loving it. I'm loving that. I feel like I'm helping them and they're helping me at the same time. It's a win-win situation. But when I think back on Jesus' ministry, there was a point where he broke up the disciples into pairs. Remember that? He broke them up into pairs, and he sent them out to do his work. And they had to learn to work together and listen to each other, and they had to work with their differences and their strengths and their weaknesses, and they did, and they helped many people, including themselves. Jesus didn't want them to try to do life alone, and he doesn't want that for us. But some of us, we're still trying to do this life alone thing. We do it. We ain't going to sign up for small groups. We ain't going to do that. Like we got things going on, right? We got that going. I could just do things by myself. I just want to do things by myself. And Jesus didn't want that for us. But we think, man, sometimes we think we're better by ourselves. Or, I can get more done by myself. Or, I don't have anybody holding me back if I'm doing it by myself. Or we can get things done faster by myself. But I heard this quote last week. Someone said, alone you can go faster, but together we can go farther. It's good. Alone you can go faster, but together we can go farther. See, faster isn't always better, but what I know is that we are better together, church. We are better together. And that's what Jesus thought too, because otherwise he wouldn't have sent the disciples out 2 by 2. And so this brings me to a question. It brings me back to that question again, like who's that one person that you could help, that you could mentor, that you could coach, that one person that you can come side by side with and try to do life with. And maybe they go to this church or maybe they don't. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. And here's another way to ask it. Who are you investing in? Who are you investing in? Now, we invest in a lot of things in this life, some of us. We invest in the stock market. How's that going? We invest in our hobbies. We invest in our favorite football team. By the way, the Jets looked tremendous last week. Just throwing that out there. We won't talk about the Cowboys. They didn't look too good. You can invest in your work. You can invest in other things in your life. All you have to do is look at where you spend your time and your treasure and your talents, and you got the answer to this. You have the answer. But what I want to suggest is another option, and that is make an investment in people. In people. I used this verse 2 weeks ago, but I'm going to use it again in a different version. But this is 1 Thessalonians 2:8, where Paul says, "We loved you so much that we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well, because you had become so dear to us." The Apostle Paul was not interested in just riding into town and dropping some gospel bombs. That wasn't what it was all about. He really wanted to invest into the life of other people. That's what he wanted to do. And as he worked alongside these people, he would take walks with them and he would eat meals with them, and he was making an investment in their eternity as well, right? He understood the principle that more time spent with fewer people results in a greater impact for Jesus. That's what he understood. So Paul understood the power of mentoring others. He understood the making a difference he could make by simply being a part of somebody's life with one person at a time. So why mentor? Why coach? Like, what is the benefits of all this that we're talking about? There's a lot of things. Just let me drop a few on you. I think you get a strong godly relationship. Like, who doesn't need a strong godly relationship in their life? We all need that. I think you find accountability. You find somebody that hopefully you love and you respect. And when they tell you you're being stupid, you listen, right? When they pull out the penalty flag on you, you listen to what they're saying. I think you find guidance in this. I think you get a different perspective other than your perspective. Because sometimes we just think our way is the only way. But sometimes you need to hear a different perspective. You get a role model. You get advice. You get a listening ear. But most importantly, if done right, you're going to experience spiritual growth in your life. You're going to experience spiritual growth in your life. This mentoring relationship is going to help you grow in your faith as you begin to meet up. For some, it's just going to be reading in the Bible. For some, it's going to be doing a devotion of some sort. It's going to be reading a book together. For some, it could be doing something on the Holy Bible app. Like there's so many options out there. And so what you do is when you meet together for that very first time is, just talk to them. Be honest. Like, here's what I'm struggling at, bro. This is where I need some help in. This is where I think maybe you could help me. And then you listen and you have an open mind to what they're saying to you. And then you learn and that relationships begin to get deeper and deeper and stronger. And you also grow in your relationship with God. And so the question is, so what is the next step? What's the next step? For the ones who want to be mentored, I think, first of all, let's not make this difficult. Let's not make this hard. I believe God places specific people in our lives for a reason. So I want you to think about those people who are in your life. This week, some of you, you're going to meet new people in small groups, and there might be a mentor in that group for you. I don't know what's going to happen when you get in there, all right? But also think about the people that you do life with. Who are the coworkers that you admire? Who's the friend that seems well-grounded in their faith in Christ? Like, who are the people that you say, man, I want some of those qualities in my life? Like, how can you get some time with them? It's the question. How do you get some time with them? And listen, don't make it weird. We can be weird. We can be weird. Like, can you please be my mentor? Like, don't be weird. Like, just, let's go like this. Hey, can we go get a bite to eat? Can we just go get some coffee and just talk about things? Like, just make it like that. I believe that God can do great things through people who are willing to say yes to something like this. We the ones, because we can help the lost ones. When we have time for what we make time for. And right now, I know there are people who are lost, who have strayed away, and they need guidance, and they need help. And I just think, who better to help than the church? Who better to help than church? Who better to mentor and coach than someone who loves Jesus? Who can be your one? Or the most important question, and the last question is, who are you willing to invest in? I think that's a deeper question. Who are you willing to invest in? There was a pastor And he shared this story about a guy named Robert from church. I just want you to hear this. It's okay. It's going to be a quick story. About 15 years ago, Robert was a pharmacist by trade, and he was invited by his college-age daughter to come to her church. It was the Christmas Eve service, and so he came to the service, and he was just floored. He's never seen anything like this before, this kind of service, and so he's like, I got to try that. And so he goes back a second time, and he goes back a third time, and he goes back a fourth time, and eventually Robert's like, well, what can I do now? Like, I want to go deeper. Like, what can I do? And the pastor said, you know what you need to do? I think you need to join the men's discipleship class. I want you to join that. And so he went through that first year with 10 other men, and then he went through a second year. And then after that, after the completion of his training, the pastor then said, I believe there's something in you, you can reach a lot of people. I want you to start a basic training group, which is meeting new people. And so he did this, and this went on for several years with Robert leading multiple groups at a time and leading multiple men one-on-one throughout the years. And then years go by, and then one day Robert has to call his pastor, and he tells him some bad news. He said, unfortunately, pastor said, I've been diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good. And so he told him that, and then from the doctors, they began to have surgery after surgery and lots of therapy, and finally the doctors got to a place where, like, there's nothing else we can do. It's just, it is what it is. And then after that moment, Robert began to go downhill pretty quickly. And in those final months, pastor asked Robert, he said, is it okay if I do something for you? He's like, what are you talking about? He said, well, each year we have this breakfast that men come and they bring their friends to, and at that event, we give away the service award to the man we believe that has served our church and served the men of this church and who's made the biggest impact in somebody's life. And we believe that it's you. And Mr. Robert, we want to honor you on this day. And so the day came, and his family got him dressed up, and they wheeled him up to the platform, and pastor began to speak about him and the lives that he had affected and about his ministry over the years, and how he just had this leading from the Spirit, and how he could help so many guys. And there were about 500 men or so in the room. And then pastor then asked everyone who had come to Christ through Robert or who had been discipled by Robert, he said, could you please just stand up? And pastor watched in amazement as one man after another began to stand in the room. And he said, my eyes were so tear-filled, I couldn't count how many people, but he said another leader stood up and told him there was probably about 100 or so men that stood up at that breakfast to honor him, all because one man decided to invest in the life of other people. Robert died just a few months later, according to his pastor, but he said, according to him, he lived on in two ways: in eternity with Jesus and in the men in whom he invested into their life. I love that. The questions that we have to ask ourselves today are these. For the mentor, the question is simply, who's the one person that you can start investing in right now? Who's that one person that you know I can invest in? And for the mentee, who is the one person who could possibly mentor you or coach you? There are people who are lost. There are people who have strayed away from God. In the parable of the lost sheep, Jesus left the other 99 in order to run after the one, to chase after the one who was lost, the one who was confused, the one who needed help, the one who felt alone, the one who was scared, and the one who was going in the wrong direction. I believe Jesus Christ expects his followers to do the same because we the ones, because we can help the lost ones. We the ones who can truly make an impact in someone's life. And I believe we can do it one person at a time, church. One person at a time.